quick work of that run up here to the booth. Good going. If it were me, I'd have to take about 15 minutes to get my breath back.
I don't need to talk quite yet, Bob. You can give me a little break, but that's it. I found a shortcut back up here in the booth.
Down Hellman Boulevard for the first time. Cars warming up their tires, cleaning off their tires. Hellman Boulevard connecting turns 6 and 7 here on the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Track record set in qualifying. We anticipate a track record when the Verizon IndyCar Series goes out for qualifications a little later this afternoon. We had 4 drivers under the official track record during practice this morning. And we'll undoubtedly see a track record if everything goes well.
Drivers fired up and ready to go, Bob. And I tell you, just to be here at Indianapolis, obviously a big thing for them, the first opportunity to go wheel to wheel. And I'm always crossing my fingers when it comes to this very first run, USF 2000, turn 1. Do we have chaos or do we not have chaos?
Well, that's exactly right. That's going to be the first thing we will look for, because you know that every driver thinks, well, maybe I can make up a position, maybe 2, maybe 3 if I get a good jump. But sometimes things don't go nearly as well as they had hoped for. But they are lined up very, very nicely as we're set to go here in just a couple of minutes.
Like the way they're looking here as they're getting rolling here. Side by side, couple of veterans, second-year drivers. We're going to go green this time. We're underway. Green, green, green. Drivers trying to dive to the bottom part of the racetrack. Looks to me like it was a great start there for Anthony Martin. Parker Thompson, not quite as much. He's going to get swallowed up here. They'll go 2 or 3 wide, and it's going to tighten down into turn number 1. They just got to get through cleanly here.
Wow, look at this. 3 and 4 abreast through the field. Is everybody going to make it through? Looking good so far.
I'll tell you, give the props to these kids at the very top of the very bottom of the rung. The first step of the Mazda road to Indy, and they are clean through 1, 2, and 3.
Wow. Good
start for the pole sitter, Anthony Martin. Took full advantage of that qualifying run to be able to get the jump through the first couple of corners. I want to say that might be Jordan Lloyd, the number 21. Bob has worked his way up into the second position, but they are 4 wide further back.
They sure are. They were 4 wide at the start, and they're still 4 wide down through Hellman Boulevard into turn number 7, but still looking very good. Just drivers taking an opportunity to get past, but no problems so far. Let's hope we have a nice clean and green first lap.
Great thing about this racetrack is it is very racy. Obviously, a lot of opportunities to pass. You can slipstream up on a driver on these long straightaways. So if you are patient, you are going to be able to make a move forward, because there is an opportunity to get in the draft and actually, if your car is better, make moves. And there's at least 2 or 3 great spots to pass here on the road course in Indianapolis.
This is the largest field we will see race this weekend as they cross the line and complete lap number 1. It's Martin out in front, Anthony Martin.
Australian driver, rookie of the year last year in the USF 2000 series, a couple of podiums running for John Comiskey Racing, but he moved over into the seat of the Cape Motorsports squad 5 times in a row. They've won the championship, so obviously a good decision for Martin to try to win this title. And of course, the big thing about winning the title, Bob, the opportunity to get that scholarship worth over $350,000 to be able to run in that Pro Mazda championship.
That's just a great thing about the entire road to Indy. If you win the championship, you get a nice bonus to try to go to the next level, and that's one of the things that we admire about the Mazda road to Indy. Second place that last lap was Lloyd. Thompson running 3rd, Franzoni 4th, and Luo in 5th position. And yeah, you got to take your hats off to these young drivers who have performed very, very maturely here in the first lap and a half, as nobody off course, everybody still running.
I'd like to think they learned their lesson a little bit from some of the chaos we had at the start of the races in St. Petersburg. The first corner was not near as clean and pretty as that one was. Jordan Lloyd trying to put the pressure on Anthony Martin now, but still maybe 4 or 5 car lengths, maybe even a little more now for Martin, as he's having a pretty good opening set of laps here. 0.8 of a second was the lead at the timing beacon. He sets a new fast lap as well, 1:27.3, almost a full second now out front. Trouble for Dale Vandenbush in the number 7.
And a caution out.
Full course, it looks like. Driver off in turn number 7, I believe, Bob.
Okay.
That was Dale Vandenbush in the number 7, one of our national class competitors, out in turn number 7. So full course caution being shown. Obviously didn't want to see that happen here early on, but it will bunch the field back up. And I think the guy that really didn't want to see it happen was probably Anthony Martin. He had himself a nice 1 second advantage.
That's right. Everybody's going to close in on him, and we're going to have another rush to corner number 1. We saw a few drivers lock up as they entered turn number 1 there on the second lap, but again, everybody keeping control of the car.
It looks to me like Vanderbush maybe high-sided up on the curbing there on the inside of turn number 7. They're going to try to get him pushed back over, and there's that Hamalcho safety crew out there, and it's really cool. We had them actually over at the Anderson Promotions Group tent last night. Did a nice little party for the guys from the Hamalcho safety crew. You know, obviously we understand what they do for us and the entire open wheel community here with the Verizon IndyCar Series and the entire Mazda Road to Indy. And we had them over just to thank them for everything they do, and it was great to have a chance to talk with a bunch of the guys from the crew.
Well, there isn't a driver in any series, the Verizon IndyCar Series or the 3 involved in the Mazda Road to Indy, that will not say that they feel comfort when they have the Hamalcho safety team in action, because they are always right there with first aid, with first response, and if anything is more serious, doctors are on the scene immediately. We take our hats off to them all the time, especially here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the races that we run here. Well, the order so far: Martin is the leader, Lloyd second, Thompson third, Franzoni fourth, and Luo in 5th position. That's about the same that they have been running since the drop of the green flag. This is a 30-minute timed race, right?
30-minute timed race. We'll see what happens once these drivers get going again. Nikita Listoshkin runs in 6th. Garth Ricard's in 7th. Dakota Dickerson started 11th, or 13th rather, and is up to 8th position. A great start for Dakota Dickerson as the number 7 of Vandenbush works his way here into pit lane. Cameron Doss in the 9th spot, and Lucas Cole rounding out your top 10. So a really good start for Dakota Dickerson. Gets 5 spots to get things underway, and we will go green next time by. The Hamalcho safety crew getting the number 7 of Vandenbush up off the curb and back into pit lane quickly. And again, we'll see what happens this time down to turn number 1. Of course, a great start from the initial green flag for Anthony Martin. Let's see how he handles a restart here today.
Anthony Martin from Australia. How do you pronounce it? Kalgoorlie, Australia? Is that his hometown?
You're going to challenge me on that one, Bob.
Kalgoorlie. Kalgoorlie, I guess.
I think he did a pretty good job of it. He's got a huge crew from Australia here with him this weekend. I guarantee they'll find you and make sure they they correct you if you're doing it wrong. But yeah, great to have a big crew coming into Indianapolis from Australia here this weekend to cheer on Anthony Martin.
Well, the more easily pronounced city is Perth, Australia, and the other one is his hometown. He resides in Perth. Thank goodness for that. I get at least one of the two right.
He's leading the way right now, and he's going to come around here and see if he can't hold back the Lions when they get ready to go back to green. Pace car's already pulled off into pit lane, so they'll put the pace in the hands of Martin and that number 8, the Cape Motorsports team. They are stacking it up nice and close behind him. They know how important it is. It's always a tough run down into the opening corner. You know that Martin's going to stay to the bottom of the racetrack right against the pit wall as they come down here to get the green. Field working its way onto the straightaway. Green flag flies from Tom Hansing, and we're back underway. Actually, Martin gets a pretty good jump, able to go down the middle of the racetrack. It's actually Parker Thompson going to work on Lloyd. Into turn number 1. Thompson goes to the outside. Lloyd to the inside. And I think Parker Thompson able to clear Lloyd before they get in there. Indeed, Parker Thompson slides into 2nd position. Further back, Franzoni now getting challenged aggressively by Yufeng Luo. So pretty solid racing here in the opening corners here, Bob. Good driving by the guys in USF 2000.
Absolutely. Very impressed by these young drivers as they are 26 strong, but everybody looking pretty good. You see a couple of cars going off of the actual race course on Holman Boulevard out there to the outside, but that's okay. They can pass out there and make up as much ground as they want. Into turn number 7, still cars side by side through that corner, and everybody staying on course.
You know, Bob, I think the driver we saw that jumped out to the outside there heading onto Holman Boulevard was actually the number 91 of Luke Gavin. Remember, he started dead last in qualifying. He set a new track record, but he stayed out an extra lap later after they had thrown the checkered flag. And they had talked about that explicitly in the drivers' meeting. If you stayed out an extra lap, you would lose all of your times. It was laid out pretty plain and simple, black and white. He then, of course, went and did that, and they cleared his time. So he started at the very tail of the field, 26th position,
wow.
And he's already worked his way up here into 14th.
Nice. Well, the separation now between Martin and Thompson is almost a second, 0.8, 87 hundredths of a second, separating first and second. Lloyd back in third position is about a second and a third back from the leader of the race.
Excellent fight for sixth position as well. Nikita Listoshkin trying to get to the inside of Garth Ricard's, overcooked and I think dropped the wheel off. We do have a driver spinning near the tail of the field in turn 1, but able to get that car rolling again. So a little bit of action further back, but up front, just some pretty solid racing. Good battle just outside the top 5 as well. Listoshkin, Cole, and Dickerson right there. 7th, 8th, and 9th. Listoshkin in the Cape Motorsports number 3, Cole in the John Comiskey Racing 34, and Dickerson in the Afterburner Autosports Soul Red number 18.
Good battle for third position between Lloyd and Franzoni as they went through corner number 7. You can see the separation there between first and second and third, but actually a 3-car battle there for third position. We'll see who's in the front as they cross the line here in a couple of seconds.
Drivers giving themselves room to race each other. I like to see that. Oh, there's that battle coming on the big screen. That's the one just inside the top 10. Listoshkin, Cole, Dickerson, Ogren, and I believe McGinnis and Gavin getting into that one as well. So probably 5 or 6 drivers trying to fight for the final positions inside the top 10. The 2 Pabst Racing drivers battling out there, Bob, for 4th and 5th, Luo and Lloyd. Yufeng going to get a good run down the straightaway. He'll go side by side with Lloyd as they work their way now down into 1. Franzoni still holding them off in 3rd, but he's got 3 black cars right behind him. All 3 of the Pabst Racing cars right behind Franzoni. 4th, 5th, and 6th. Lloyd, Luo, and Ricard's all running together.
That is the best battle on the racetrack without doubt, as there's a bit of separation between first and second and third, but then 3rd, 4th, and 5th are really having a nice battle out there, although they are now single file down the backstretch. Holman Boulevard headed for turn number 7 once again. Martin just continues to show the way here, keeping that advantage over Thompson at right out of second.
If he's able to bring it home here, it will be the first career USF 2000 victory for Anthony Martin. And I'm sure we have a lot of people listening back in Australia on the Mazda Road to Indy app. As I said, we have a good group that have traveled over here as well, family members who have come over to root him on. And it looks to me like maybe that support could be something that he needs to grab his first career victory as he now leads by over a second from his teammate.
We have a 15-year-old in the field.
Jordan Kane, 15 years of age.
Wow.
Kane running 19th right now.
Isn't old enough to drive a car on the highway, but he can do it at well over 100 miles an hour on the racetrack.
Actually won, I want to say 12 or 13 races last year in F1600 competition. Being told that Luke Gavin in the number 91 having to give a spot back for exceeding the track limitations. So wherever it is that Gavin is pushing hard, overtook another driver by going a little too far off the racetrack.
Well, it could have been there on Holman Boulevard that I mentioned last lap, and maybe it is out of bounds there. If you cross over that rumble strip area there and gain a position at least, you may have to give it back. 7 laps have been completed, and we have 17, almost 18 minutes to go in this race.
I'll get a confirmation on that back straightaway area, and it does seem to me like you're correct, Bob. They have the curbing up there, and it would make sense that you're not allowed to get that good run all the way outside of that curbing. So race officials obviously keeping an eye on Luke Gavin in the number 91. He's having to give being told at least on the radio to give a spot back. Whether or not he's done that yet, we'll find out. Martin, Thompson, Franzoni, Lloyd, and Luo, the top five. Rickard's right there. There's contact. A couple of drivers together coming back into the speedway, to the infield part of the racetrack there. Looked to be like one of the Pabst racing cars, a black and white car, I think.
Wow.
Just on the edge of what we were looking at. Yeah, we've lost one of the Pabst cars up front.
Mm-hmm.
Who have we lost? That's Ricard's. I think we lost the number 22 of Ricard's. Either lost or just dropped them back in the field. Sounds like the 22 of Garth Ricard's going around.
Martin's lead over Thompson now extended to 1.3 seconds. And then back to Franzoni, a little over 3 seconds between first and third position. Once again, the cars at one of the fastest portions of the racetrack down the so-called backstretch, or Hallman Boulevard. And once again into the challenging part of the course after corners number 1 and 2.
And Bob, I was going to say that it was a really entertaining battle there for third, fourth, and fifth, or fourth, fifth, and sixth. It was the three Pabst racing cars. And you know, I don't think the team owner, Augie Pabst, was probably feeling the same way, seeing all three of his drivers running that aggressively. And again, what happens? One of the drivers ends up getting connected with his fellow teammate. Garth Ricard's actually falling down into 20th position after that contact.
Yeah, tough break, because he was charging toward the front, right up there amongst the front runners. All right, here's the completion of lap number 9. 9 laps completed in this 30-minute event. Martin, Thompson, 1.2 seconds behind. Franzoni still running third. Then Lloyd and Luo. Cole is in 6th position. Gavin 7th. Agron 8th. McGinnis 9th. And Fisher running in 10th position.
That battle with Garth Ricard's actually was between himself and the number 3 of Nikita Listoshkin. The officials looked at the video review of that, and Listoshkin being issued a drive-through penalty for the contact between himself and Garth Ricard. So a pretty stiff penalty there for Listoshkin, the Cape Motorsports driver, who sits, I believe, 6th overall in points right now. He's going to fall well down the order, already 22nd after the contact, and that drive-through is going to drop him down to the very tail of the field.
We're more than halfway through this 30-minute event, and 9 laps completed as Martin leads the others through the south end of the racetrack, and now about to complete lap number 10. Still about the same interval between first and second, 1.2 seconds last time around.
About now is when we start figuring out which drivers are maybe taking care of their tires a little bit here midway through the race. We'll look at the lap times between Anthony Martin and Parker Thompson, the two Cape Motorsports with Wayne Taylor Racing teammates. They were both turned 27 flats last time by, this time 27 sixes. Thompson quicker by about 0.05 of a second, just a half a tenth quicker, and he's 1.2 back. He's going to have to be a little quicker than that, tenth of a second a lap if he wants to close up here. As you've got to expect, we have somewhere around maybe 8 laps remaining in this one. Franzoni able to give himself a bit of a gap against that battle. He had the Pabst Racing guys right behind him, but he's got about a 0.9 of a second advantage now.
And you got to be impressed with Agron, too, who is running in 8th position, the Norwegian driver, doing a very fine job here running in the action. And now the field begins to move away for this event featuring the Pro Mazda Series. This will be a 40-minute race, 40 minutes. Twelve drivers set to go. Awards qualifying speed was 105.941 miles an hour. About a half a mile an hour or a half a second faster than the second place car, Aaron Telitz.
You got to give it up for Pato O'Ward. He came in here using the momentum he had from that sweep at Barber Motorsports Park and just has not taken the foot off the pedal at all. He is just on the throttle and looking to try to stretch away even more. Already the point leader after 3 wins in 4 races. His teammate Aaron Telitz knows he's got to get back around here soon. And I think if he's going to challenge anywhere, it's going to be in turn number 1.
You know, I have not had an opportunity to see these guys race very much, but I have heard the name Pato O'Ward. It's such an unusual name, and besides that, I have heard the name because he has really been quite successful in his young racing career.
He's done a lot of great things. He's been running a lot of different races as well. He's obviously trying to do what he can to find the money to be able to run here in Pro Mazda, but he has had the opportunity to run some other cars as well. He ran a prototype lights car. He's done a little bit of F3 racing. Whatever anybody gives him a chance to do, he'll jump at it. First name is actually Patricio. He's from Mexico, lived a lot of his life in Texas as well, but Pato, as he goes by now, a very talented young driver. They're going to bring him out here, folks. Tom Hansey's got the green, and we are underway. Green, green, green.
Race number 2 of the day heads for turn number 1 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Let's see what happens in turn 1. Nice clean start for the F2000 series. Will it be for the Pro Mazda drivers?
Those are 4 Juncos drivers, 4 wide going into turn number 1. They started 3rd back to 6th. 4 wide behind the 2 yellow and black Team Pelfreys. Great jump, though, for Pato O'Ward, Bob, and he goes out front into probably about a 4 or 5 car length lead as they work their way onto the back chute.
Yeah, got a nice advantage already as they swing out of turn number 6 for the first time and head down the back stretch to turn number 7. Pato O'Ward will set up for that corner, and a big challenge for second spot.
Oh, Aaron Telitz is overshot going through 7. Had to lock it up as he had Jake Parsons in the 00 behind him. Telitz is not going to be happy with that. He's going to fall all the way back and going to actually get behind a bunch of the national class cars as well. He just got really deep into the braking zone, Bob, trying to hold off Parsons, and he goes off into the grass.
And that's what happens when you push it a little bit too hard. He goes from second all the way back to the tail of the field, now beginning to pass the slower cars back there, but a real setback for him on the opening lap of the race.
Well, obviously, the 2 swings of the pendulum there. Number 1, Pato O'Ward now has no one even to challenge him, as Telitz was the only driver close in terms of time. And now, I'll tell you, he'll be beating himself in the head for it, but Aaron Telitz needs to get his head back in the game and try to work his way back up here as close as he possibly can. O'Ward leads the opening lap by 1.5 seconds over Will Owen, Jake Parsons, Garrett Griss, and Jake Edson.
Wow, a nice lead already here on the second lap of the race. Running third is Jake Parsons. You can talk about familiar names at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Johnny Parsons and Johnny Parsons Jr., of course, racing here, and who can forget the last name of Parsons and Benny Parsons from the NASCAR ranks. But Jake's a young man, again, from Australia.
We have a really good crew of guys that have come over from Australia. Of course, the success of other drivers like Will Power have pushed these guys to look at the Verizon IndyCar Series, look at the Mazda Road to Indy. They got a great Formula 1600 program down there as well to develop some really solid young pilots, and we're excited to see a continual flow of great young Australians come to be part of this Mazda Road to Indy. When we do our big shootout at the end of the year where we're getting F1600 champions from around the world, we expect the young Australian champion to look very strong at that shootout.
Lap number 2 completed. Separation between first and second is 2.27 seconds. And Pato O'Ward's last lap was the fastest of the race, 1 minute 24.53 seconds.
Aaron Telitz now trying to close up here on Bobby Eberle. He's already back into the 9th position, a 125.6 for Telitz. Half a second quicker than DePero in 7th, and about 2 or 3/10 of a second quicker than Jamin and Edson. So a long way to go for Aaron Telitz in that number 82 if he's able to get himself back into the top 5. Just a little too aggressive in trying to defend from Jake Parsons on the opening lap over in turn 7, and he paid dearly for that error.
Ambient temperature here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is 65 degrees. The track temperature is up to 107, so it's almost perfect conditions as far as racing is concerned. The wind is from the northwest at only 2 miles an hour, so the windsock high above the scoring pylon here at the Speedway is virtually limp.
He continues to feed the momentum that he's got after these last couple of victories.
Yeah, you're right. He's just hitting every mark perfectly. We've still got a long way to go in this race. We got almost 25 minutes to go, but so far it's just been an outstanding and near perfect performance by O'Ward. We'll see what happens here in the second half of this race, but everything looking good for Pato at the moment as he comes off of the road course onto the front stretch here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Completes lap number 11. 11 laps in the book. And it's a 5.5-second lead for him now.
Pato winning 3 of the first 4 races in the Pro Mazda schedule, and the only other 2 drivers to do that were Matthew Brabham and Spencer Piggott. Both of those drivers going on to win the championship in those seasons, so a good statistic for Pato O'Ward as he looks to strengthen his position at the top of the standings right now. 5.5 seconds now ahead of Will Owen. Owen's 5 seconds ahead of Parsons. Grist back by about a second, and Nico Jamin able to get by Edson. I think Jake Edson might have had a bit of trouble, may continue to have some trouble. He's actually fallen back a spot as Edson has fallen to 6. Jamin now up into the top 5.
And both of those drivers you mentioned a few moments ago have graduated to the Verizon IndyCar Series, and they will be coming up next as knockout qualifying scheduled to begin right around 3 o'clock after this race. And this race is 11 laps old with 23 minutes left to go. There is O'Ward in the yellow car as he will come across the stripe and complete lap number 12. He's led every lap since the drop of the green flag and able to stretch his advantage on just about every lap as it now climbs up to 5.8 seconds.
Battle in the national class sees Bobby Eberle leading the way in the number 13. He has a over 7-second advantage from Bob Kaminsky. Kaminsky in the 57 runs in the second position. Jay Horak in the 37 in third. And Kevin Davis in the 44 rounds out the 4 drivers we have in the national category here for the Pro Mazda class. Eberle running 126.2. Pretty good lap time for Bobby. Very close to those of the drivers ahead of him. Aaron Telitz in the 82 finally able to get by Nicholas DePero, quicker by 0.8 of a second now. He's going to see if he can't reel in Jake Edson, but again, both of those drivers turning laps of 125 flat, and right now Telitz over 3 seconds behind Edson, who runs in the 6th position.
Yeah, if he can get up there and battle with Edson, he also has an opportunity to gain a couple of more spots and finish in that top 5, but he's up to 7th at the moment. O'Ward, Owen, and Parsons. Jake Parsons is from Melbourne, Australia. He is 21 years of age. And his racing hero is Gilles Villeneuve. He began racing again in karts in 2010. So he was, 16 when he began his racing career.
Again, like Will Owen, a little later than a lot of the drivers who start much younger in kart racing. But again, if you have a natural feel for it and dive right in, you can find some success fairly early. And Jake Parsons is one of the young drivers we're excited to have join us here in the Pro Mazda category here this year. And again, in the entire Mazda Road to Indy, it's really a 2-year program wherever you are. You come into the year, the first year, you learn the tracks, you learn the car. And then that next year, when you're the veteran, where you're the sophomore, that's your opportunity to go for the championship. And that's what we have here with so many drivers. Obviously, Jake Parsons, Nick DePero, Nico Jamin, Jake Edson, Aaron Telitz, all in their very first year here in Pro Mazda. And they just want to learn and try to win races and see if they can't step up and be ready to go for the championship in 2017. We will have a brand new car in 2018 here in Pro Mazda as well. Actually, we'll be unveiling a brand new USF 2000 car on Carb Day, just as we unveiled the Dallara IL-15, the new Indy Lights car, just a year and a half ago. We'll do the same with our new USF 2000 car this year. Excited to see that car. It'll roll out in 2017. And that tub, the same tub that we use for USF 2000, will be the base of our Pro Mazda car in 2018.
Good information.
6.4 seconds for Pato O'Ward. We did send out a memo that we wanted a really exciting race, so that obviously did not make its way to Pato, as he's decided to just pull away and make this one of his own.
And we've talked about the first three drivers a little bit in depth. Let's go back and talk about Garrett Grist, who is running in fourth position at the moment. He is a Canadian born in Grimsby, Ontario. You, as a resident of Toronto, probably know where Grimsby is.
Just down the road, just down the Queen Elizabeth Way, the QEW, about an hour outside of Toronto.
Yeah.
So he will call the Toronto race, the Honda Toronto Indy, his home race. He was actually able to win there last year in the wet. Garrett's a young kid that just came through the sport, started very young in karting, not 16. He was about 8 or 9 years old when he first started karting, I believe. I used to watch him run there, and he had represented his country on more than one occasion, racing in the international events, and has come into this program, this Mazda Road Indy. It's his fourth year, Bob. Did 1 year of USF 2000, was racing with Andretti Autosport. They closed down their USF 2000 program and decided to focus on Pro Mazda, and he went with them. And he said, yeah, let's keep going. And he's a young kid that there's some tracks he's very, very good at. He's unbelievably strong at Lucas Oil Raceway. I think he's won every year of his career at Mid-Ohio. And last year, to be honest, he was probably the strongest driver in the second half of the season. He stepped up in a big way. They were able to work on the program a little bit. And, in fact, he was able to sweep the weekend at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, our finale in September.
Wow. Tough
one for him because he sweeps the weekend, but most of the focus was put on Santiarucci for winning the championship. So, tough one for Garrett, but definitely a talented young driver out of Canada.
Heard you talking with Dave First earlier today about Laguna Seca. It's been a long time since I was there, but that's a racetrack that you don't soon forget. No. I mean, what a great setting it is, and a very, very challenging race course for the drivers.
I like it as our finale. Obviously, number one, Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, the spiritual home of Mazda, are one of our primary sponsors, so it's good to be in their backyard and a place that they call home. And we just enjoy being at that racetrack. The drivers obviously love it. It's another one of those bucket list tracks you want to go to. You want to be able to say that you plummeted down through the corkscrew and you were able to score victory at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. And, again, we're excited to go back. And everything around the racetrack is what makes it such an amazing place. All the food, of course, the location right on the water in Monterey. Fantastic place for our banquet, which we do on Monday evening after the events. And just a fantastic place for us to be able to wrap up our season and crown our three champions and figure out which drivers are going to, of course, win the scholarships to move up the ranks and up to the next rung inside this Mazda Road to Indy.